rise. I'm going to call on Commissioner Weisenbaker for the invocation and the pledge.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all of our many blessings, Lord, and especially the blessing of all blessings, and that's sending your Son, Jesus Christ, to save us from ourselves. We thank you for looking after us during this storm. We ask that you'll continue to show your favor on us all, and we're so happy to be living in Lowndes County, Georgia. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Weisenbaker. I believe tonight that we might have some folks here to start with from Leadership Lounge, the youth group. Do we have any with the youth group? If you would, please stand and be recognized. Thank you. As well as we also have some folks here from the Leadership Lounge, the adult group. If you would, please stand and be recognized. Awesome group. I hope y'all are having a great year. I know it was a great year in 2007, so I enjoyed it back then, so I hope y'all are enjoying it.
2008 was better. That was the best class, 2008.
Oh, one. I was first.
Did they get full credit since we've got a short meeting tonight?
They do.
They do?
No, we're going to give them half credit.
Half credit.
We want to see them come back again. No, you don't want to come back just because they will have to. So.
Well, we did trap them for half a day Thursday, so they've spent some quality time in this room last
Good
week.
deal. All right, we're going to move on, and commissioners, inside your packet, you have your meeting from the two millage hearings that was held on September the 19th, as well as the October the 14th millage hearing, and our regular session minutes that was held on October the 15th. If there are no additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda 5A is the agreement with DRC Emergency Services LLC. Ms. Dukes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. As we begin to continue to clean up the community, there are the stresses of where do we take all the trees? Where does the debris go? So as a part of that, DRC Engineering, who is a debris removal contractor with GDOT, has asked to use 5 acres of our property off of Highway 122, and they have agreed to pay the county $3,500 per month for the use of the property. This is a month by month, and they understand that we will eventually be done, and it'll be time for them to move on, but we feel very confident that we're in good hands partnering with GDOT and their contractor. Mr. Ty has actually been a part of this conversation, so it's ready for your consideration.
Are we thinking of 3 months, 4 months? We know at this point?
I don't think that we know at this point. It's going to take a while. I would say probably no more than 6 months, because this is for GDOT's contractors just for those state routes.
Yeah.
So it's not the
again-
magnitude of the
And
rest.
again, keep in mind, that's the reason for a month-to-month contract rather than having some sort of time.
Will everything on a Georgia state highway be taken to this site?
I'm not sure if they have some flexibility to take to other sites, or if they have chosen this as their sole site. Ashley, do you know?
They have several sites. They operate just like our contractor does, and this is actually one of the sites that our contractor uses. They're just sharing it. There's enough space for them to use it. So GDOT, they're trying to find sites to minimize the length of the haul.
Right.
So they have some other sites around the county and in surrounding counties, but this was just a close site for everything in the north end and like Lanier and Berrien counties to go to.
And they're shipping that stuff there on that site?
Yeah. That was another advantage. They said the grinder that Ashbrook is using for us is the same grinder that they use. So he was already there on site. So it logistically, it helped everybody out.
I agree. I think it's a perfect location.
And it's a little revenue, which usually we're asking to spend money. This is a little money coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. All right, any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve and authorize Chairman Slaughter to sign and execute proposed agreement.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the proposed agreement. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 5B is the purchase of VSU South Campus property. Ms. Dukes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the next step in the process for you all to move forward with a consideration of purchasing the Valdosta State University continuing ed space that's the former Georgia Power Building. In the statutes that are required for the state to liquidate property, there's some extra steps. So one of these involved a posting at the location and also an opportunity for public comment at that location. We had to re-advertise and go through that posting process twice. It was handled by the attorney's office because of Hurricane Helene, but now that has happened. The reason this is before you tonight is because you would be required to consider any of the public feedback that was provided during that meeting on site, if there had been any, but there were no citizens that showed up to weigh into that. So this is on your agenda as a formality this evening. There is no action that is required. We just needed those public comments, if there had been any, to be before you. The attorneys most wisely thought that it was good to go ahead and put it on the agenda so that we had some record of it again coming before you, even though there were no comments to discuss.
So what you're saying, the decision's been made to purchase it?
No, sir. So you will make that decision at your November meeting. We will have everything that is legally required to be prepared in front of you for you all to approve to do that, should you choose to.
Are we at liberty to, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr.
I was just gonna point out, what's really driving this extraordinary requirement is the lease back portion of the transaction.
Yeah.
Georgia statute allows a county to lease county property to a public educational institution, but to do that, you must go through the process we're going through of having this public hearing, which was held about 10 days ago, and then having it on your agenda tonight, preliminary to having it on your agenda in November. It's not the purchase, it's the lease that's
Gotcha. Yeah.
requiring this, and that's because of this unique
See, there's
special statute that requires it in this circumstance.
The special amount of revenue that we'd be generating off that lease?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are we at liberty to discuss future potential uses for that?
Yes, sir, whenever you're ready to
can
do
if you
that, for
like.
sure. Mhm.
We're in it now.
So what are y'all thinking?
Well, the primary discussion had been initially is that, as most everybody knows, the Board of Election Office has really, it's outgrown its need, as well as parking and access. We feel like that on the first floor level, primarily there where those offices are, where Georgia Power's primary offices used to be at, that would be an ideal location for the Board of Elections. There is a auditorium downstairs that would be able to be utilized during elections to set up equipment and that sort of stuff. Got great parking, easy in, easy out. So I think it would be a huge asset there. And then certainly there are some other opportunities for the second and third floor levels that we are in the process of looking at those. There may be some needs there from the standpoint of, as you know, the health department is making a move. There may be some needs there for one of the other agencies that's in that operation as well that they might be able to locate here. Those are details based on square footage needs that they're going to be coming up with, that those decisions will be made.
We may have an,
How about
sorry,
the
go
planning
ahead.
commission?
Yes, sir, that could go
And
into
that
the
as well.
auditorium
For the
room.
auditorium area, it would be a great location for the planning commission.
We hope that this will be a net utility spend to the good. The current services that the chairman is referring to, we believe that they will be moving out of other buildings over the next 2 to 3 years, and then we will be able to liquidate those buildings and decrease our overall footprint. For instance, whenever we built the HR building and DFAX moved into that, their square footage need was 26,000 square feet. The most recent study by the state, they only need 18,000 square feet. So we are trying to be as efficient as we possibly can, keeping in mind our overhead spend and utility spend as it relates to those facilities. So I believe that, to your point, Commissioner Ornstein, once all of those pieces move around, this building will be filled up rather quickly, and also we'll be in a much more efficient environment than we currently are.
But the biggest need right now that's addressing is the driving is the Board of Elections.
That's right.
Needs. I mean, that's really the rest of it is going to be just ancillary stuff that we'll fill in, but the big need right now is the Board of Elections.
What's the overall square footage in that building, do you know?
Not off the top of my head. We're
Well-
close. We have looked at it. Chad, do you remember?
It's over 45,000 square feet.
Yeah.
But I was pleasantly surprised when I walked through it, just what good, it's in good shape.
Yes.
I mean, and even the auditorium, first floor, so, I mean, it's just, it's huge. So,
Yeah. There's some dated features in it, but at the end of the day, it's a well-constructed, well-built building, so it's in good shape.
And keep in mind that we can only pay the appraised value as a local government for a building. So the fact that the Board of Regents and VSU were willing to lobby so hard on our behalf for this transaction to happen at the appraised value, we're very grateful for that. Dr. Carverhall, Tracy Martin, and his team really worked very hard for us there, and it was primarily because I think we all believe very strongly in the relocation of the Board of Elections to that area, needing additional parking there, an easy way for people who have trouble walking long distances, being able to get right into the building and do their business there, and it being right in the center of the community. It
No,
was,
kinda
those
ironically.
were all good things.
Ironically, the Board of Elections used to be located right across the street on the opposite corner over there.
well, I'm just
In a
happy
postage
that,
stamp building.
That's right.
well, I'm just happy that in the wake of the purchase that we won't be getting another big, huge renovation bill. I mean, I know we'll have some fit up and stuff to do,
Yeah.
but
That's
I
right.
just don't see a whole lot of
No.
renovation costs
No.
coming on the backside of this purchase.
And we agree with that. We felt like that it was, you really is from that building and how it would be able to be utilized with,
Speaking of that, do we have any idea what to anticipate on getting the building functional for the Board of Elections?
but it'll probably take next year to get all my
Yeah,
thoughts now.
we got a year.
Yeah, to get all that done. And we've still got this tenant lease situation. There's someone that will still be in the part of that building for a certain period of time. I think it probably until after the first of the year at some point.
We had originally thought that they would need it for probably through the first quarter because the space that the university has them moving into was being renovated. But now we've been told that that area sustained some damage from Helene, so it may be mid-year before the university has moved. But in walking through and understanding the current workflows of the Board of Elections, I don't think that we're in an environment where we're gonna have to go in and move walls. I think this is more of a cleaning and some paint and just moving into that space.
And all that's gonna be done completed before we take over.
No, sir, that will be done before the Board of Elections moves
Yeah.
in. We'll be taking the building as is currently, and
Okay.
then we'll have to wait for those university services to move out, and then we'll go in and clean and paint, and then move the Board of
We'll
Elections
do
in.
that, that's on us.
That's right.
Yes, yes. One thing related to that is, I think, of concern as Helene has taken out a lot of our fiber and connectivity. One of the things that IT worked very, very hard on from the minute the winds calmed enough until about last week was restoring all of that fiber. So as you all know, it is a data center close to here that connects the Board of Elections to our systems. And all of that's very important as far as the uploading of data and all of that during the election process. So that fiber was impacted in 13 places from here to the Board of Elections due to Helene. So I'm going to mention in my report where we are with our facility damage and our estimates there. But we are going underground with that fiber whenever we restore it. We think there'll still be some future need possibly for the old Board of Elections location. That will be determined by you all, and we'll talk about that probably at our spring retreat. But we're going to go ahead and bury that fiber from here to that continuing ed building, and then from there to the Board of Elections. So we have that continuity, and if we do get winds again, we're not putting it back on the pole once more.
Well, I'm proud of you for having the foresight to see this and your relationship with Tracy or however all this came about. I feel like that we have an opportunity that, had you not had a good relationship, then we might not have even had the opportunity for this, so thanks.
We make a good team. Thank you.
Thank
Is our Board of Elections staff gonna increase when they get set up in this nice big?
Don't know that, that's up to them, it's their board. Their board, not ours.
They're on our budget.
So is the sheriff's department, but those are not.
Well, the sheriff's department's different, and you know that.
They are.
And we don't treat everybody the same.
Okay. All right, any other questions on that agenda item? Of course, there's no action to be taken, just if you have any questions, then we'll move on. County Manager Report, Ms. Dukes?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So earlier this week, our staff, and by that I mean Chad and I sat down and added up all of the estimates from all of our departments as far as current property damage. Some of this is still to be bid. Obviously, some of this will be eligible for reimbursement through FEMA at the 75% rate. These do not fall into category A or B. So we're not under the time constraint that we are with some of the other things that we're working on right now. But it looks like right now, estimate numbers that we're going to be around $1.5 million in county property damage to our facility. So we will see. Hopefully that number will go down some. Some of this will obviously be covered by insurance, but that's the total amount based on our current estimates. So I felt like that might be a question that you all got asked, and I wanted to be able to give you a rough number there. Again, it is a very rough number
I'm surprised it's not
in
more.
some areas, and I think that it probably will be whenever we move forward and we get everything. But this is some of our small project stuff. Not all of our big stuff.
Yeah, because I noticed, I'm sure y'all have looked at it, but there's a big chunk of fascia off the front of this building.
That's right, yep.
Now, does that include like, Parks and Rec?
No,
Okay.
no, all of that is separate. And that's one of the things that Ashley spent a fair amount of time over the last week is Parks and Rec and the hospital and tourism, even in some of those other areas. They have to write their own projects with FEMA. We are certainly here to be an advocate and to help them through that process if someone's got some questions on how they do that. But we, everyone has to write their own there. All the cities are individual, that's just for the unincorporated area. Also, I know last week we talked about the crossover in the contract to the Corps as it relates to debris management. All of that is still on track. Just remember that we may see several days of slowdown in that process as all those trucks have to be recertified and we move over to the Corps. But that will stop the bleed where our general fund is concerned, that those are dollars that we won't have to worry about fighting to get back from FEMA in the eventual end. And in the meantime, Public Works will still be running their trucks. So with the purchase of the new Barco last year and some of those things, we've got some equipment that we didn't have before, so we don't intend on stopping debris removal altogether. We will just scale down to what we're able to do until we pick back up with the contractor. I'll be speaking to the Pine Grove Elementary 5th grade in the morning at 9:15 on elections. If any of you would like to join me so that we can introduce them to a real live elected official, you guys are welcome to join me in the morning at Pine Grove at 9:15.
Heard enough about elections.
It will be the second round of Meet the Candidate this week, Commissioner Weisenbaker. Then also, we will be hosting the Chamber Membership 101 at the Historic Courthouse next Wednesday, October the 30th at 8 a.m. I know the Chamber is a huge partner for us. I know that some of you may have businesses that have been Chamber members in the past, but this is an opportunity for you to hear firsthand how that integration into the Chamber's programs work for Chamber members, if that's something that you're interested in from the business community side of things. Also, on November the 8th, we will be a part of a benefit concert that has been planned by several members of the community, and it's going to be held at Unity Park beginning at 4 p.m. So this is an opportunity for citizens, anyone who attends. It's a free concert, but there'll be QR codes there so that people can make a donation if they would like. Also, One Valdosta Lounge has agreed to match those donations up to a certain dollar amount, and that funding will go directly to the United Way. I think that the United Way has their annual campaign that they are responsible for funding their nonprofits every year. In addition to that, they're also managing a tremendous load as it relates to the hurricane donations. So it's important that we keep those hurricane donations coming in and getting to the citizens and the groups and the nonprofits that those funds need to get to, keeping in mind that there's also dollars that need to be gathered and raised and taken care of as far as regular operations that will go out through the next year with the United Way. So we're hoping that concert's going to help with that too. And then on November the 9th, we will be hosting the Fall Girls on the Run at the historic courthouse. And this is going to run the same route that the 9/11 run runs down Patterson Street. But we're going to have a big pink party at the historic courthouse, and we hope that you guys will all come out. This is, again, an initiative that we're working with Girls on the Run. The city of Valdosta is handling some of those logistics. We'll have a big group of our employees out there that are volunteering. Commissioner Evans and I have been the face of the county from the girls' side of things there, and the chairman has come out and has been a part of that effort as well. And I know that all of you have at least got a 5K in you. So we look forward to seeing you out there. And this is a walk-run opportunity. We also need some volunteers
I do walk run, folks.
right, to stand in driveways to make sure that we don't have any cars that pull out during the process. But I'm looking down at 4 girl dads just right here. So I look forward to seeing all of you gentlemen out there, and it'll be a good day. And it'll be over soon. That entire event lasts a couple hours. You'll still have plenty of time on Saturday to continue to cut trees and clean your yards up. So
Won't be able to after doing that.
I'm sure you can do it. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
All
Thank
right,
you.
any questions for Ms. Dukes?
Thank you, Paige.
All right, we'll move into our citizens wishing to be heard. Our first citizen, Mr. Jesse Bingham. If you would, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Jesse Bingham, and I live at 2563 Naples Lane, Valdosta, 31601. It's kind of a timeline I'd like to lay out on our home that we built back in 18. We came up from West Palm Beach, Florida, and we researched a lot of different areas, and we finally picked the Lower One subdivision and to build our new home in. And it did have a restrictive covenants, which we were aware of, and we accepted that covenants, and we started to build our house and September of 18, and then Thanksgiving, we found out that there was going to be a builder come in there called Wade Journey that builds affordable housing to build homes. And we weren't happy about that, but we didn't know what they were going to build until after we had built, closed, and moved into our house. And they actually amended the covenants to build these homes. They changed the roof pitch, they changed the square footage of the homes. So, and then after we moved in, they built 27 homes in there that are affordable housing. 24 of them are two-story homes. And to top it off, now 10 of them are rentals. And all these homes are completely surround our home. And that's really bothered us. And when we moved in, we were supposed to have a homeowners association established when the last home was sold. Well, Tom Call was in charge of it when we went in there, and then he backed out of it and left it with Larry Dean. After Wade Journey pulled out, Larry Dean built 12 homes, and then he pulled out, so we still didn't have a homeowners association. And then a company called Chris Mill Homes came in there to finish it off. And I approached Chris Mill Homes at the time about our homeowners association, and they just shot me right down. Just, we don't have the funds for it. We're just there to build houses. End of story. And so our covenants is written that an association should be established when the last home is built and sold. And the last home is built and sold, so I called, I went online and looked up the Chris Mill on the county website, the owner of the last house, which was CMH Developments, and it has the address of North Valdosta Road. I called that, I looked that up, and that's Chris Mill Homes. They said, we don't have anything to do with that. We're not Chris Mill Developments. So I'm still at a loss. Are we going to have a homeowners association? One of the things I keep asking is, like the entranceway, who's going to maintain the entranceway? Somebody's paying lawn maintenance on it to maintain it, but apparently that's going to stop someday. I'd just like some answers. And then I have another situation that's kind of bothered me. I put up a pole barn in my backyard, and I was required to pull a variance that cost me almost $500 for my variance. And I've been over into another neighborhood, the next development, and there's a home over there that's got a gigantic pole barn, and they're doing some kind of a business out of that yard with heavy equipment. And to this day, I can't find any county record of permits, and I keep asking the building permit people about that, and I can't get any answers to why that business is going on out of a residential home.
Well, actually, if you'll hang around, I'll be more than glad to talk with you a minute,
Thank you.
as soon as the meeting's over with. All right, our next citizen is John Quarterman. Come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm John Quarterman, and I live at 6565 Quarterman Road, and for tonight's subject, my address is Walls at P.O. Box 88, Hahira, 31632. So first, I'd like to thank the chairman again for paddling on the chairman and mayor's paddle, and the county manager for coming and seeing us off at Langdale Park. I think y'all noticed that's a twisty-turny river, and it's kind of narrow in the spots where you had to pull over logs. And it was only possible to do that paddle at all because we had been in there each weekend for the previous 6 weeks sawing deadfalls out. Okay, so, and also the chairman took out at Sugar Creek, which that's the reason you had something you had to get to, so there's a reason we had that takeout. Beyond that, we're actually still doing chainsawing during the paddle. Okay, so can you all imagine anybody shipping bales of cotton down that river to market? I cannot either. Why does that matter? Because the current law on the books in Georgia for what is a navigable stream is basically shipping bales of cotton down the river to market. It doesn't specifically say cotton, but that's the general idea. And why? Because it dates from 1863. Okay, why does that matter? If it's not a navigable stream, in Georgia, the landowners own to the center of the river, which means if somebody owns both sides of the river, they can literally put a fence across it. There's been a test case on a tributary of the Flint where somebody did that, and it stood up all the way to the Georgia Supreme Court. And there's a more recent case on the Flint where somebody said, you can't fish in this area. They won that case, but then, I'm not going to go through all the backstory. There's a study committee on navigability and related issues in the Georgia House. And they did an 1.5-hour session with all the backstory. I'll send you a link to the video and some other materials. The gist is it needs to be defined what streams are navigable in Georgia. Now, two of those members of that committee are John Corbett and James Burchett, whom, as you know, represent part of Lowndes County. And Representative Burchett's solution is he floated a bill in the last session which attempted to name all the navigable stream segments. Okay, an interesting approach. But he included things like the Tallulah River. I don't think anybody ever floated anything through Tallulah Gorge. So a solution to that was to take that out of the list. Okay, if you use that solution, you'd have to take that stretch of the Withlacoochee out of the list, and probably the rest of the Withlacoochee goes downstream from where the little river comes in. Back in the middle 19th century, when Troopville was still there, somebody got the idea of taking a boat from Troopville down to Ellaville on the Suwannee to establish commerce. There's a story in the Atlanta Constitution about this. They sold the parts and walked back because shoals, rapids. So by that 1863 definition, basically none of our rivers would be navigable. So what I would suggest, if y'all can see your way clear, is, and I'll send you materials and you can find plenty more, is consider suggesting to the State House delegation we could use a better definition of navigable. You could either write to them, call them, or the committee was going to have a meeting in Nahunta a few weeks ago. It got canceled because they discovered there'd been a hurricane. They're holding the next one November 13th in Newnan. It has on the agenda 45 minutes for South Georgia Waterways perspective. So if any of you want to go to Newnan, they'd listen to y'all a lot more than they'd listen to me, I can tell you that. So that's my subject. I'll be happy to send you more materials. I hope you'll think about it. And if I might add, Walls could use an office. We'd be happy to pay as much as VSU is. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. What? Any other business? A motion to adjourn.
So moved.